Hey, Imtiaz, can you hear me? Anyone?
Yeah, Ravi, loud and clear.
Hi, Captain. Good evening.
Okay, yeah, I'm on to something. I'll just join you in a minute.
Sure, sure.
Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll be there with them anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
We are still waiting for people to join, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, we'll wait. Hi, Dr. Nisha, Dr. Shailaja.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Dr. Shailaja. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Good evening, Dean, sir.
Good evening. I'll just join you in a minute.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Nisha.
You can see the slide there?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Hi, Professor Rajan.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Rajan sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Bharat. Student Bharat Kumar is wishing all of us. Sir, we have about 163 registrations.
Okay.
Just about 45 students have joined. Somewhere close to 40 have joined.
40,
So
yeah.
let's wait for a couple of minutes, sir. Many more will join.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Sir,
Yeah,
maybe another last 1 minute or so we'll wait because 70 students have already joined.
sure.
And then by that time, I think Dean sir will also join us back. Then we will
Sure.
start off the session, sir.
Yep, sure.
Yes, I'm back.
Yes, sir. So Ravishankar, sir, we can start off. And yeah, Rashmi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Rashmi.
Yeah,
Over
hi.
to you.
Okay. Thanks everyone for joining
One
this
second,
session.
sir. Sir, Ravishankar, sir, 1 second. Rashmi will start off. She has to introduce you to the gathering.
Oh, okay.
Before, Rashmi, hi.
Hi, sir.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you doing?
When I said I'm back, I just to start off with an anecdote. I remember General Douglas MacArthur. So when the Japanese kicked the Americans out of Philippines, he was the last one to leave. And as he turned around to the advancing Japanese and said, "I will be back." A very classic moment in history. And he was back a few years later. So Rashmi, all yours. Yeah.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to our Dean Professor Captain Nagaraj Subbarao sir, a Professor Ravishankar Iyer sir, all the professors, participants, and all my fellow students present here. We, Vriddhi, the Fintech Club of SCMS-PG, Sagar University, are organizing a certified workshop on Fintech An Introduction. It is designed as a primer to provide a good understanding of the latest trends in fintech and the technologies that are driving to this. So the focus is also on the use cases resulting in adoption of fintech products and how digital transformation is taking place in banks, asset management firms, and insurance companies. Fintech integrates technologies like AI, blockchain, and data science into traditional financial sectors to make them safer, faster, and more efficient. Fintech is one of the fastest growing tech sectors, with the companies innovative in almost every area of finance, from payments, loans, to credit scoring, and stock trading. So without further ado, let's go forward. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our Dean Sir to the audience. Professor Captain Nagaraj Subbarao sir is a Dean, School of Commerce and Management Studies, and professor. He teaches leadership and strategy at Sagar University, Bengaluru. He's a master mariner and specialized in navigation and ocean engineering. He holds an MBA in HR management and advanced specialization in strategic leadership from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, USA. Prior to his decade and a half in academia, he spent over 20 years in the Merchant Navy and commanded state-of-art ships. He has unique distinction of leading multinational crews through difficult circumstances all over the world. For the last 13 years, he has been an academician as a professor of strategy, organizational behavior, and HR management, with senior administrative positions across academia, including that of dean. He has consulted in areas of leadership, organization culture, and ocean engineering. So this is a quick and brief introduction about him to really name a few. There are several other achievements and the list goes on. Over to you, sir.
Me? So,
So the next speaker we have is Professor Ravishankar Iyer sir. He's a professor of finance and technology for the MBA and executive MBA program at Sagar University. He holds BTech in mechanical engineering from IIT Bombay and MS in mechanical engineering from the University of Kentucky. He was a senior leader in capital market, wealth management, asset management, and treasury across technology, consulting, and operations. So he has expertise in building new businesses and practices in capital markets and investment management. He has significant international experience in business, technology, and management consulting, and also people management. He has deep industry and functional architecture expertise. He's an expert in global markets and products, such as cash equities, fixed income, OTC, and derivatives. He has faculty experience in business schools and corporates.
thank you.
So thank you. I understand that I'm supposed to sort of kick this off. Is that right, Dr. Shailaja?
Yes, sir. So now, thank you very much, Rashmi, for that wonderful startup and quick introduction to both our dean sir as well as the resource person. Before Ravishankar sir would take off the session, sir, I request you to kindly address the gathering and tell us.
Thank you very much, and good evening to all my faculty colleagues, Professor Ravishankar, Dr. Shailaja, Dr. Goyal, and Professor Rajan, as well as my other faculty colleagues who are here, students, participants, and all of you who have sort of come to this event. Welcome to Dayanand Sagar University, School of Commerce and Management Studies, the PG programs. So, you know, when we sort of conceived this idea of launching short certificate programs in several areas, the reason for doing so was to spread awareness of how the work world is changing, how technology is impacting all of us, and the direction in which we are going. So we live in a highly charged digital environment. We live in an age when artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and other deep technologies are impacting us. And there's two ways to lead life. One is, of course, to be oblivious of change and continue till it hits us very hard. The other is to be aware of changes that are occurring and take cognizance of them and adapt accordingly. And so we have launched several such programs as we go into the near future in enlightening people of the change that is occurring through our brilliant faculty. And Professor Ravishankar is one such faculty at Dayanand Sagar University. Also, I was very heartened to hear that we have in excess of about 170 participants. That's a great number, and all young people. And so I hope that you sort of take away many things from this program, and you sort of understand what is fintech and why is it so important and how it is impacting us. So fintech, short for financial technology, has become a crucial part of the global economy. All financial tasks were completed through paperwork only, as you know earlier. But today we have technology impinging upon finance, and you have fintech. It is essentially an economic industry composed of companies that use technology to make financial services more efficient. They're used mainly by individuals to help in mobile payments, insurance, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, stock trading, digital lending and credit, budgeting, and much more. Tech-focused startups and similar new market entrants are disrupting the way in which the financial service industry conducts its operations. So, India has the world's second biggest fintech hub with about 2,565 startups operating currently, and about a decade ago, they were only about 700. So you can see the growth. And India's largest share from fintech startups is through payments and is followed by lending, wealth tech, personal finance, insurtech, regulation tech, and others. And I'm sure Professor Ravishankar will talk more about it. What is interesting for us is that at Bengaluru, we sort of lead the pack, and Bombay and Bengaluru sort of account for more than 40% of the fintechs, and many of them are brilliant startups, right? In this, which are operating from this part of the world. So that makes it very interesting for us that we are not only the IT capital, also the so-called Silicon Valley of India, but we're also the fintech capital, and we are in many senses many other capitals, right? Also being the capital of the state of Karnataka. So this workshop probably discusses the various financial services segments in which technology solutions have been used to solve problems, including lending, payment, wealth investment management, insurance, and so on. Hopefully the workshop also describes influential technologies that are used in fintech, such as application program, interface, API, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And you couldn't have got a better person to do it for you, because Professor Ravishankar is an absolute master in this area, and he sort of has taken time and effort in putting this program together as a basic primer to fintech, to make all of us aware of what it is, where it is taking us, what the impact is going to be, and why we should be cognizant of fintech, because it's going to have a major impact on our lives as we go forward. And so this cusp of technology and management is a very fascinating space, and many of you young people should consider yourself fortunate, because they're going to throw up several hundreds of jobs as we go into the future. And by some quirk of fate, you are in the right city at the right time and probably listening to the right people. Thank you very much. And with that, I will hand you back to our compeer, and probably the program can start off. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Now I request Ravishankar sir to take over the session. But before that, let me request all the participants here. The session will go on till 7:45. And the last 15 minutes will be for question and answer session. And in case students have any questions, you can please leave it in the chat. You can post it in the chat window. And the questions, all the questions, we will try and take all the questions possible. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Shailaja. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Professor Nisha, and also Professor Rajan for making this happen along with Imtiaz. So it's all about people and fintech. So let's get started. And so. Sorry, yeah. So this is day one, as the captain said. It's such a, when I started to pull this and we look at the topics, I really didn't know where to start. It's so complicated, and it was a lot of learning for me because it's such a big area. So what I realized is that there is no one place to start. So these are the topics we're going to cover. And what we'll do is, we'll try to understand what's happening in the world today. Yeah. And if you are able to understand that story, I think you get a sense of what's the transformation that's all around us. Sometimes as you walk, you see some clouds and you think the rain is not going to come, but very soon the rain comes and the change is happening all around us. And this workshop will help you understand the change that has come about so fast that we will be very surprised. I'm sure after today itself, we'll be very surprised. Okay. Okay. Now, this is a picture of, I don't know, many of you have gone on these tours. We'll have a tour guide with a flag, right? And what I realize is that it is such a complicated topic. And there are many surely on the panel participants who have as good knowledge or more about what's happening in the fintech. So think of me as your tour guide as I take you around various things, and hopefully we all learn together. Okay. Now, this is a statement made by one fintech investor. He's saying that we are witnessing the creative destruction of financial services rearranging itself around the consumer, who does this in the most relevant way using data and digital wins. Yeah. And this is a reality, as you will quickly realize by the end of today itself. Okay. So this is a question that may come across in many organizations. How did they go bankrupt, right? How do organizations fail? So there are two ways, and we look at some examples, that either gradually and then suddenly, okay? And that's what is happening, that corporations are very vulnerable to this acceleration, okay? So keep this in mind that change is not always gradual, it is very sudden, okay? Now, this is basically showing you what's the market cap of some of the large technology companies. Most of them are US based. And the key message is technology is eating every industry. Okay. So if you look at 2006, the largest companies were Exxon, GE, Total, which is again an energy firm, Microsoft and Citi. We fast forward to 2011 and you start seeing some changes. And then you look at 2016. Yeah. You have Apple, Alphabet, which is Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. But Tesla is slowly coming up, right? This is 2016, all right? And then you'll fast forward to 2021, and you don't have a new entrant. What has happened is the existing firms, the technology firms have become larger. So your Apple going from 582 billion to 2.36 trillion, Microsoft at 2 trillion, Alphabet at 1.8, Amazon at 1.66. And just yesterday, you must have been seeing the news, Tesla has crossed $1 billion in market cap. Yeah? So the valuation of these companies is changing. And more interestingly is all these tech companies are eating every industry. Yeah? Let's just keep that in mind. Yeah? Technology is eating every industry. And this is a theme that we will see come up again and again and again. So when you talk about digital transformation, it is driven by technology. Obviously, we are looking at financial services, but it is getting into all industries. Okay. It's a bit scary, right? From 2016 to 2021, no one is there in the top 5. The same companies who are growing. Okay. Okay. What you see is another way of looking at it is how technology adoption is getting faster. Now these are different companies who have started at different points. What this graph is trying to show is how these have got active user in millions in the first 4 years. Okay, so we started off with Skype, Twitter at the bottom. Then you have Gmail, Facebook, Alipay, and WhatsApp. And in 4 years, Alipay and WhatsApp have become grown. 250 million in the first 4 years. Alipay is an old company, which is a payment company. WhatsApp grew to 400 million in 4 years. So technology adoption is getting faster. Okay, so that's a key message. Obviously, we'll look at some more data, but just keep that in mind. This was how Alipay grew till 2012. So Alipay is a Chinese-based company, and it grew to 800 million in 2012. Okay, we are talking of a time when most of us were not even so close to understanding what's happening in the fintech world, what's happening in the digital transformation space. Okay, so this is Alipay. I'm sure some of you have heard about it, but this is data as of 2012. Any of you heard about Coinbase? Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange, and we'll look at it in detail. It started in 2013, and now it has 20 million as of 2018. See, look at the rapidity of growth in the users. Okay. That is cryptocurrency exchange. Okay. So this is Coinbase. And one other company that you must have heard about recently, Cindy, especially during the COVID times, is a trading company in the US called Robinhood, which got about 4 million users right from the time it started about 2015, close to 2015. And obviously they've gone for an IPO too. Yeah. So what we are seeing is the emergence of companies which are not the normal companies which are based on, buildings and factories, but on digital. Yeah. And that's the rapidity of growth that we're seeing. Okay. Okay. Now what's happening is, because of this change, everyone likes to call themselves a technology company. JP Morgan Chase is one of the largest valued banks, say they are a technology company. Goldman Sachs is one of the very big investment banks. They saying that we are a technology company. Everyone is now realizing that if they are not focused on technology, the business is not based on technology, they're going to lose the market share, or they're going to get wiped out. And we will look at what's happening in this space. Okay. Okay. One thing to remember is, now no industry has a moat. Because of new business models, technology is coming, the existing business models are challenged, new competitors are emerging, prior partners are looking like competitors, and maybe the new incumbents are going to change the business models, and the existing companies are going to fold up. Okay. So please keep this in mind, particularly in any industry, particularly in the financial services, there is no moat. Companies are going to see creative destruction very, very fast. And we look at some examples. Okay. So this is some examples we look at it. So everyone knows about the German car company, Mercedes-Benz, right? So at some point, Mercedes-Benz competitors were BMW, which is again a German company, and Lexus, which is a Toyota brand. Yeah. So the competitors were BMW and Lexus. Yeah. But now, Benz's competitors are Lexus, BMW, Tesla, Uber, Google. These last three are the Tesla, Uber, Google, we just talked about, right? They're the technology companies. Tesla is now with a market cap of more than $1 trillion. Technology companies are becoming the biggest players in the automobile sector. Yeah. So if Mercedes-Benz thought they really have to compete against BMW and Lexus, and the landscape is being redrawn. Yeah. So an automobile landscape is totally changing, and how BMW, Lexus, and Mercedes-Benz are going to compete, how they're going to remain relevant, we don't know. But this has happened as we speak, right? I don't think we were talking about Tesla or Google maybe about 5 years ago. Tesla has been around a little longer. Uber, right? Uber has more vehicles than, because it is just the app, right? Uber does not own any vehicle. Yeah. So this is one example. Take an example from the retailing space. So you have Walmart. So Walmart's traditional competitors were Target and Costco. Again, these are very large US retail chains. Yeah. And you just move a little forward, and now Walmart's competitors are not just Target and Costco, but Amazon and Alibaba, right? You're seeing the same kind of change happening even in our market, right? We used to have Amazon in the online space. Obviously, you have your shops, and then you have Flipkart, and now you have Big Basket, and now you have DMart in the traditional space. Suddenly, the competition landscape is changing. Technology has taken over. and companies are becoming retail players just with technology. Yeah. So hearing about Tata Group acquiring, Big Basket and bringing things under their fold, right? Tata Click and Tata Consumer, Tata 1MG, right? So you see the whole retail chain is just being changing dramatically, and this acceleration is happening very quickly. Yeah. So this is what we're saying is that the industry doesn't have a moat. If you don't have technology, your competitors are just being born. Now, this is basically the home viewing cable, right? Cable broadband in the US, Comcast versus Time Warner versus Verizon. Yeah. So these are cable telecom companies that provide you cable at home. And again, you have technology that is coming. And now you see who's a competitor to Comcast and Time Warner. It's Netflix and YouTube, all right? And you have many more, Disney. You have so many of these streaming, right? The same thing in India, right? I think many of you may have been using, um, Tata Sky or Hathaway, but suddenly everything is becoming OTT, right? If you're watching a lot of the cricket, many of you are just having the Disney Hotstar, right? I at least have surrendered my cable connection, yeah. And that's the rapidity of change that's happening globally, right? And all these is driven by digital transformation, digital technology, and this is happening faster than one can even think. Okay. Any questions so far? Just walking you through some examples, and I think it's very important to understand what's happening in this fast changing world. Yeah, we will get into talking about the technology components in the next couple of days, but I think it's important to understand with these examples what's actually happening in the world. And we think that digital transformation and fintechs are far away. No, it's all around you. It's going to change your job. It's going to change your industry. It's going to change every other industry. Yeah. And I'm sure the captain will talk about how the remote learning is changing the models of even the education industry. So then look at card industry, right? I'm sure many of you are familiar with Visa, MasterCard, Citi, American Express, right? So these are the big players in the whole card industry, right? Credit card industry. I'm sure many or all of you use a credit card. And now, who are your competitors?
If I may interrupt you,
Yeah.
would you be taking the questions towards the end of the session, or?
I can take questions as they come along here. So is there a question? Right. Let me just check the chat box.
Yeah, there is one question.
Sure.
Raghu Kurapati asks, may I know how is Google a competitor to BMW?
Yeah. So if you look at Tesla, so Tesla started off with their own, electric vehicles and driverless cars. Google is also getting to do a lot of their work on driverless and auto navigation cars. They've done a lot of test runs. So the question is, Google is not going to be manufacturing cars, but they're going to provide the digital technology and probably at some point compete against Tesla. Yeah. So to your question, Raghu, the change is happening, right? So if Mercedes was thinking that their competitor is just BMW and Lexus, I think they're realizing that there are new companies that are coming in. So you have another company called Rivian, which is again into the EV space, and they are going to come up with an IPO, and they're going to compete against Tesla. So very soon you're going to see a shift from traditional automobile companies who are going to see new players. So Google is just one of them in my example.
I hope we were able to answer your question, Raghu. Yeah. All right, sir. Yes.
Any other questions?
As of now, no, sir. Once the questions start coming in, I'll interrupt you like this, and then we will take the questions one at a time.
So this is very much in the space of fintech, and we'll see some examples coming ahead. So these companies are suddenly seeing competition from PayPal, Stripe, Affirm. We look at these examples of what these companies do. Adyen, Venmo. It's totally transforming, and these are companies that you not have heard of. They started totally digital. They're offering services to customers. They're offering services to merchants and businesses, and they're essentially taking away market share from the traditional companies. Yeah. And that's the transformation that the traditional companies either need to be prepared for, or they need to change their business models. Yeah. So the old business models are under threat. How fast it happens, no one can tell. And we look at some of these things and how these changes happen, as we said, gradually, and then suddenly, and then companies have no more business model left. Yeah. So that's the risk many of these companies are going to face. Yeah. This is the brokers in Wall Street, particularly E-Trade, Ameritrade, Schwab. These are the traditional full discount brokers or just traditional brokers who've been around for more than 20 plus years. And then suddenly we're seeing competition from Robinhood, which is again a trading app that's just started, like we saw 5 years ago, or a lot of the investments are going into exchanges like Coinbase for crypto. And we will obviously dedicate some time on crypto in the next couple of days. Yeah. And you must be seeing the same happening in the Indian market. You have the traditional brokers who used to be on the phone and now online. You have the traditional banks, HDFC Securities, ICICI Securities. And then you suddenly seeing companies like the Zerodhas, which offer you absolutely zero or low brokerage, Upstocks, 5paise, who are essentially got the market share. Right? So the maximum trading volumes, particularly India, is going through Zerodha. And it's changing business volumes. It's reducing cost. It's reducing the costs, not just in the stock space, exchange space, but also in the mutual fund industry in India. Right? So many of you may be hearing companies like Grow, where Coin, PhonePe, Paytm, all offering services for you to directly buy mutual funds through their apps. Yeah. So this is the change that's happening globally. And these are some examples that I think we're seeing that traditional strong companies are facing competition from companies that didn't exist 3 to 5 years ago. Okay, so let's look at an example. Yeah. So this is a timeline between Feb 2001 and 2016. Yeah. This is the just the growth. Let's look at the numbers, but it's in a scale going from 0 to 150, right? And suddenly you see that in 2007, Apple launches the first iPhone. Yeah. The company which is also in that space is still growing, right? Then what happens next? The company launches the iPhone, and it's suddenly you see by 2000, in the next 21 months, its sales start dipping. Yeah. And it's still going down, then it goes up. So one thinks that, okay, it will recover and compete. And then look at what happens from about 2009 and 2010. In 5 months, it has just crashed. It's lost its business, and it has just gone below, very, very low levels. Can anyone identify this company? BlackBerry. Does anyone, many of you may not have even heard of the company. Yeah. BlackBerry, and we will look at it probably tomorrow, was one of the earliest smartphones. Yeah. The first smartphone was actually IBM. BlackBerry was the pioneering smartphone that came around late 90s. And they were the leader. Everyone had a BlackBerry. I had a BlackBerry at work. If you're working for a consulting firm, it was your business phone for emails, messages, scheduling, everything. And look at this, the business headlines at that point, 2007 to 2008, BlackBerry is still the leader. Revenue, it's RM is the company that which owns BlackBerry brand, research in motion. Revenue profit surge. BlackBerry makers snacks, half the US smartphone market due to jump ship. I think it's a chip maker. Everything looks great. See what is happening, right? It was all gradual, and then suddenly BlackBerry is no more, right? I'm pretty sure most of you, probably all of you are young, you never heard of BlackBerry, yeah? And that's the disruption, that is the digital transformation that has just completely destroyed a company. Yeah. So when we talk of the gradual and sudden, this is what happens, right? You don't think it is going to happen. You don't think it's going to happen to your business. You don't think it is going to happen to your, job. You don't think it is going to happen to your country, right? It's going to happen. It's happening, and we have to be prepared and learn. Yeah. So that's the message. Okay. Take another example. Yeah. This is a company again, 2000. It's growing its business. It's growing, looking well. All is good. And suddenly in 21 months, its business starts dipping. And then in 5 months, it has collapsed and crashed. It's gone. It's hard for you to guess because many of you would not have even heard of, probably haven't used a video cassette recorder, but this is a company called Blockbuster. Okay. This company was a pioneer in its model. What you would do is people could rent video cassettes and they would mail it, and then people mail it back. Yeah. It was a huge business, very successful business, but they did not transition from the video to CD or digital. Netflix came in. Netflix immediately just got rid of, didn't even try video. It just came in DVDs and totally went to streaming. Yeah. So look at the CEO in 2008. Even at that point, they didn't think the Redbox and Netflix are even on the radar screen in terms of competition. Now, Redbox also, no one would, I don't think the company exists, but Netflix, I'm sure all of us are using Netflix, right? So this is again an example where things change gradually. And you think, no, okay, nothing will happen. And then suddenly everything is over. Yeah. And that is the pace of the digital acceleration. So we want to understand fintechs. We need to understand what is it doing to the industry? What is it doing to the financial services industry? What is it going to other industries? For those who are in the other industries, this workshop, I think you need to help you even look at the different pieces that is important in a particular industry. What are the technologies at play? How are the moving parts? And how is it going to change? Yeah. Let's pause here for any questions for anyone. Actually, I'm not able to see the screen. I'll get to pull it up. I know there's no chat maybe now, but just trying to give me a second, folks. Everyone is able to hear me clearly? It's all clear?
Yes, sir. Everything is fine. We are able to hear you very clearly. And as and when the questions come, sir, I'll just let you know that. Sure. You can, I'll interrupt you and I'll ask you the question. Sure. So okay. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay. So one of the things is that there could be a change. It is gradual, and maybe you have the luxury of gradual, but maybe not. Maybe companies, the destruction in the next cycle of fintechs is going to be faster. Yeah. So let's learn. Let's try to understand the moving parts. Okay. So what suddenly in financial services, what is happening, right? Why is it happening? And I'll spend a little more time tomorrow to understand why this has come, right? I think we need to understand what are the technologies. Why is it happening now? Why wasn't it happening 20 years ago? All right. We know internet was there 20 years ago. So what is it that has happened? Yeah. But before that, let's look at what is happening now. And that will give us a sense of what's happening in the world now. Yeah. There's a flood of fintech innovation capital. There's a lot of capital coming into the fintech world. Yeah. And we'll look at all this fintech capital that is coming in. Okay. So what are the two things that is happening? One is we said this money coming in, and there's an unbundling of financial services. Yeah, the financial services is being unbundled, and we will look at the examples and try to understand what is being unbundled. Yeah, it's as the word says, right? Instead of having everything in one bundle, right? For example, those who are using cable, right? Previously, you pay a cable operator, I don't know, 350 rupees, and he gives you everything as a bundle, right? And about 2 years ago, I think that TRI changed, right? And you could check, you pay some flat $100, and then you pick the channel you want, right? Unbundling. That's exactly what's happening in financial services. Okay. This is just to give you a quick thing on what is happening at the technology at a high level. And as I said, we look at the technology changes in detail tomorrow. But in 2000, you needed to start a tech startup. You needed 5,000 K, which is $5 million. In 2005, what has happened is servers allowed you to do open source and horizontal scaling. So the cost came to $500,000. Cloud became very, very common and popular from, especially with Amazon, started in 2009, and you needed 50,000. And in 2011, it came to 5K, right? So now to launch a tech startup, you probably require $5,000 or even less, right? And that's the reason why all this acceleration has occurred, right? You don't need to buy computer software, hardware. You don't need to have people to run it. You could just connect through a broadband internet connection, have a cloud provider give you everything. And we look at the cloud infrastructure in detail, because it's very important to understand the transition. What is happening in cloud? Everyone talks of cloud, but the costs are so low that everyone has a startup. And I said, the captain said, right, we have some 2,000 plus startups in India and Bangalore, and that's because the costs are so less. So groups of people start off, 10 people, 5 people, they put up some seed capital, come up with an idea, and if they are able to get an investor, they scale up. And we look at what is happening. Yeah. The cost to start has become very low. Yeah. The other thing, as we said, is because there's a lot more capital. Yeah. This is the global funding. Okay. If you look at it, 2020, obviously, this was during the peak of the COVID. $60 billion was the funding to startups, okay, in Q2. The same Q2 2021 is 156 billion. It's gone up by 157%, okay. So more and more money is coming into these startups, okay. So I think the point also is for many of you who are studying, who have ideas. If you have ideas, you don't need much money to test out your ideas or even launch a startup. And I think that's the whole objective, is that to give you the elements. This is not a course to teach you the technology, but this gives the elements and give you a sense, understand the world is transformation. There are many like you who are going to study and are going to launch a startup, and you probably get a lot more confidence that you can do it, because the world is moving so fast that you don't have to look what happened last year. You just have to look at what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Yeah. And if you look at it, in 2020, there were 23 unicorns. For definition, a unicorn is a startup which has a valuation of $1 billion. Okay. And from Q2, now we have globally 136 unicorns. Yeah. 136 companies which have a valuation of more than $1 billion. Obviously, there are some Indian companies, you must have heard about it, and we look at that list in detail, when we look at the evolution tomorrow. Yeah. But you see what is happening. There's so much of money going into these companies, and companies' valuation is going, and you have more companies in the startup world. Okay. And the interesting thing is, out of every $5, $1 went to a fintech. Okay, so this is the dollars and going to fintechs. 11 billion as of Q2 of 2020. Now we have 33 billion. It's almost doubled. Yeah. So fintechs is attracting the maximum share of venture capital. Okay. And obviously, we are going to spend a lot of time on the fintechs as such, but there's a lot of money available that is being funded in the innovation space. Okay. I'm just going to throw some examples of what's happening. Some names you will recognize, some names you will not, but these are the investors, yeah. And some of these you must have heard, right? Sequoia, Axel, Ribbit Capital, A16Z Index Ventures, and you can probably see some companies. Cred, I'm sure you must be seeing all the ads, right? If you're watching these World T20 cricket, there's a lot of that coming, right? Stripe, I mentioned Stripe. Bank Bazaar, I'm sure you must have used it or aware, Indian companies. But Razorpay, some of you may have familiar with the payment of that. And these are all these companies. Robinhood, we talked about Robinhood. Like I said, TransferWise, we will look at TransferWise. Some of you, it's called as Wise now, which is used for payments. And we have that as an example. Grow, right? We talked about Grow, right? It is an app for brokerage and mutual fund direct investment. Is there anyone who has actually using Grow in this? No? Monzo, it's a digital bank. We'll probably look at that example. Okay. So the basic ideas, all the smartest money is all on fintechs. Okay, these are all fintechs. These are the ranks. Okay, ranks of the, obviously, the money that these people have been putting in, these investors. The next four.
Sir, before you move on to the next slide, there's one question.
Yeah.
Debapriya Baduri, she asks, sir, what is the percentage of fintechs amongst the new unicorns globally and in India?
Okay, I can just so give me a sec. Okay, so I don't have the exact number, but let's say that 156 billion, okay, is the amount of total funding. And we said 1 in 5 is going to
fintechs.
Yeah, fintechs, right? So out of 136 unicorns, okay, I would say is, if you want to look globally, in India, globally, I would say just roughly, just for the moment, I don't have this precise number. I can always check it out. 1/5 of this would be about 27, right? 27 or more unicorns here. I would think so, 30 unicorns. India, I have a separate list. I'll have to go through that. India, I think there are about 10 plus unicorns, yeah, or maybe more, yeah. Globally, could be more. I think fintech, the number of unicorns could be more. The number of money going in is 1/5, but the unicorns could be more. India also has a sizable number of unicorns. I think it's about 5 to 10, but I can check the number, and I have a list which I'll be pulling up tomorrow, so we can go through that list itself. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, Devapriya, I noted down. Sorry for that. Yeah, he says I'm a he and not she. Thank you. I'm sorry for that oversight from my end. And also, sir, there are for the question that if anybody is using any of this apps like Grow or something, there are some students who have replied that they are using Grow.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
For information, I've been using Cred for more than a year, but personally, I mean, it's convenient to pay credit cards, but I myself not seeing great value. But that's aside. Grow, I've tried it, but since I use direct investments through mutual fund sites, I'm not using Grow. I use Zerodha. So but I'm sure you must be seeing a lot of these. In fact, Grow, it was in the papers 2 days ago because they got some additional funding. Yeah. And actually, the founder of Grow is in some common WhatsApp group I know. So we are congratulating him. Okay. So what I'm saying is that also the startup, the companies, fintechs are coming closer to you, right? You'll probably find that you can know of a startup who's either directly connected or through a friend, right? I think that's what you're going to find, that the startup world is coming closer to you. Yeah. And that's where I think you need to look at, is that maybe you should even reach out to those contacts, try to understand. Maybe when you have to look for an internship, that's the place probably you want to go. Okay. So keep that in mind. I was looking through the list, at least I could. Bharat Pay, right? In this list, can you see Bharat Pay? Bharat Pay actually has tied up with Centrum and they've got a license for a bank. Okay. I think they took over one of the NBFCs, which was not doing so well. So Bharat Pay is also there in one of the Indian companies there. I don't see any other Indian company, but this is not an exhaustive list. Again, the idea is to essentially show that all the money is going a lot on the fintech, right? So the world is seeing, fintech world is seeing huge investments. I mean, the numbers are, they've got used to billions that we don't seem to register what a billion is, right? I think, and recently, it's not here, but recently you heard of this company called Freshworks, right? Which got listed in NASDAQ. Did all of you watch that in the paper? It's a company that provides CRM on the cloud. They started in 2011 and they got listed on the NASDAQ. Yeah. So they are obviously larger. They've gone beyond a fintech. They've gone public. All right. Many of these companies are not yet public and they will go public at some point. Like Paytm, right? If everyone is following the Indian market, Paytm is going to come for an IPO in the first week of November. Yeah. At huge valuations. Okay. So basically there's so much money that is going into the fintech. Okay. And the investment capital is now global. Okay. It's no longer just the US. Okay. US has about 70 billion in 2000 deals as we speak. Canada is this, Europe has 30 billion, Asia, it covers a lot of area without the details, that's about 2,500. So a lot of money that is coming into Asia. Okay. Now, whether that's India, China, but I think there's a lot of capital that is flowing globally. Yeah. And that's something that is going to, fintechs are attracting a lot of capital. Okay. Okay. It's not just US, right? I think if you look at it, it's going globally. Yeah. So let's look at it. Yeah, so this is a company called C6 Bank. And if you look at it, they're based in Brazil. They are into mobile software and they provide accounting and finance. It's a mobile, right? So this is the technology, right? So when we talk of fintechs, what are they into? Mobile software. There's another called Trade Republic in Germany, mobile software, asset and financial management industry. Okay. Moli, which is about payments in internet software. NY Bank, which is based in Brazil, accounting and finance. So what you see is happening is all these companies or fintechs are having a technology. Obviously, we're looking at finance. So what is the piece of finance that they are going to actually provide a service in? Yeah. So this is some of the deals outside the US. We already saw some of the global deals already. And, obviously the funding that happens in many rounds. So from a venture capital, you can see, they have different numbers, series A, B, C. It also shows you the size and it also shows you the investors. Yeah. We saw some investors, Sequoia Capital, Axel, so on. Yeah. I think this is more information, but you see that this is happening globally. As we saw, innovation capital is happening globally. Latin America by itself is attracting a lot. So you see Brazil, Mexico, Uruguay, and Ecuador. Okay. So what does eBanks do? Well, this is the amount, yeah, 460 million, 397, 195, huge sums, right? This is eBanks integrated financial services cross-border payment. Clip is a smartphone plugin for accepting payments and the risk management to manage merchant things. CloudWalk is an open payment platform. So you see the themes, right? It's either on a internet, it's a software, it's a mobile, it's on a cloud, it's on asset management, it's on payment, it's on accounting, it's on finance, it's on trading. So this is a payments platform, dLocal, and we have this as an example. It also went for an IPO recently, and then this is a company which provides a secure payment processing. Yeah. So these are so many different areas, and we thought that all these business industries where there's so many competitors coming in and taking away business that maybe been provided by maybe their Amex, maybe by Visa, maybe by MasterCard. Yeah? So these fintechs are growing, getting funding, and the numbers are going up. Okay. I think I'll show you a couple of graphs. It may not be easy to understand, but most of these are private, right? Private IPOs. What this shows you is that these are the number of rounds which are more than 100 million. Yeah. So about 5% of the many rounds are more than 100 million. Obviously, all funding in one round doesn't happen more than 100. So 95 is non-mega rounds. Okay. That is, they keep funding many times, but only 5% is more than 100 million at each time. Okay. But this is what I think is that when they do rounds, many of these rounds take up the maximum value. Okay. So if you do 100 million and do it many times, then what is happening is investors are looking after those companies which they see more success, right? They see they're achieving the first result, they pump in more money. So a lot of the money is going to the winners. Okay. So you could have 2,000 deals, but maybe the unicorns numbers are small, right? Because the only ones which are successful get more and more and more funding. Yeah. So that's the point to keep in mind. Yeah. It's not just about funding, but there's going to be only a few that are going to get maximum funding. Among them, many are going to become very successful. Okay. But the point again, we said, why is the disruption happening is there's so much of capital being invested in these startups, particularly in the fintechs. Okay. Okay. So let's look at some of the examples of companies that are, received this funding and what do they do? Okay. We looked at Stripe earlier, right? Just give me a second. Yeah, I'm just seeing there's a lot of questions. Hopefully that is all answered. Okay. So there is this company called Stripe, right? And we saw Stripe as, what does Stripe do, right? Stripe started in 2011. It's an Indian American financial services and software as a service, SaaS. This is exactly what Freshworks is, SaaS, right? Software as a service. It's based out of San Francisco, United States, Dublin. Yeah. What do? Is they provide payment processing APIs, and we look at APIs, right? But what this means is that previously, when you had these older systems, people would develop these systems, and the systems would be the programs had to be compiled, and then they would create runtime versions and they would run. But so let's say that today you have a piece of software that takes care of payments, right? But you want a user interface. So you don't want a monolithic piece of software. So essentially you have this concept of creating small modules, microservices, application programming interfaces, so that the user interfaces could be different. So for example, you want to do a payment, then there's a separate interface for payment. You want to receive, you want to send a message, you want to start a remittance, you want to do buy a product, different pieces of programming services which have their own interfaces as what is API. And we look at API. And that is the reason why the acceleration from old legacy systems to modern digital systems happened, because of APIs. Okay. So this company provides payment processing and APIs for e-commerce websites and mobile applications. So Stripe is a company that provides a service to businesses. Businesses use Stripe digital software behind, and they are able to then launch their e-commerce websites and mobile applications. Okay. So Stripe, they call themselves as builds economic infrastructure for the internet. And their mission statement is to increase the GDP of the internet. Okay. So they launched in 2011. They have 4,000 employees, 14 global offices, millions of Stripe users. Okay. So this is a company which is one of the largest fintechs, even as we speak, in the world. Okay. So the question is, what is Stripe doing? How are they evolved? Right. So let's look at it a bit. You see what has happened. Stripe started off as a single company, and slowly they have acquired, invested, and have a partnership. Okay. So they have started and scaled up their entire software to do a number of things: accounting and billing, B2B payments, banking, BNPL and credit cards, e-commerce. And these are the companies that they have. Either some they have acquired, some they have invested, some they have a partnership. For example, in banking, they have a partnership with Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and Barclays. Okay. Monzo is another digital bank. You see what is happening, right? Tomorrow, do you want to start a bank, all right? You don't need to buy a monolith software. Maybe you need to buy a small fintech company, to buy a company like Stripe. If you want to do accounting, you tie up with Stripe and you build a service. You don't need to build the software, all right? Stripe will take care of it. I'll just give an example. They do clear books. If you want to do payments, if you want to do banking, all right, they have tied up. They have invested, tied up. E-commerce. They're doing a lot of e-commerce. And this is a new thing you must be hearing: buy now, pay later, correct? So this is essentially a method that you buy today and you pay later. No fees, no late charges, no interest. Okay. And you're seeing a lot of that happening in India too. So they are tying up with these companies, and we look at some companies which offer BNPL. Okay. So you see what is Stripe. Stripe is nothing but it's a digital economic software company that brings you this software for you doing a lot of things. It works with e-commerce companies. It works with online banks. It works with payment processors, right? So this is a digital transformation that one could not imagine, right? So just you take a traditional bank in India, right? You take HDFC Bank and you take ICICI Bank, you State Bank. They have their own payments. They have their own software. They must be using a third-party software, right? But tomorrow you can have a bank that starts with nothing. It doesn't buy software. It just uses. It could go to Monzo. It could go to Stripe. It could go to an accounting software company, a credit card company, and an e-commerce company, and just take pieces and build a bank. Yeah, and that's the kind of imagination, which is what we are saying, is that people don't care whether it's your own software. The whole value chain is what businesses are looking for, is the consumer and the business interaction. Yeah, that's what people are looking at, not how your back end is. And this is Stripe, and Stripe is one of the largest fintechs in the world as we speak. Yeah. I pause here for any questions. What I'm trying to give you is that digital transformation is happening with actual businesses, actual customers, actual B2B technology, and different types of technology, right? In the financial world, the industry and technology is all about internet. It's about mobile. It's about cloud. And we obviously look at, credit cards is the industry, and then other pieces of software, which is data. And we'll look at, analytics, yeah, which we'll look at it as separate pieces to look at. Okay. This is a fantastic example of what's happening in the world around us. Yeah. So tomorrow, if you have a new bank that's coming up, maybe in India, they're going to follow this path. Yeah. I don't see that people are going to go to the old traditional thing of trying to build software when you can actually lease it, you can rent it, you can get somebody to manage it, some cloud company to operate it. And we look at how the cloud models work. Yeah. So the question is, you have Citigroup, Barclays, and Goldman. Who's at an advantage, right? Today, these guys are big banks. You never know tomorrow who becomes who's the challenger and who's the bigger one. Yeah. And that's the risk. And many of these banks are also changing the way they do business so that they're not left behind. Yeah. Okay. In addition to this, there are some other companies that have gone beyond funding and came with an IPO this year. Yeah. We look at some examples more to understand this is happening so rapidly. What is the technology and what is their mission? Yeah, gives you examples of digital transformation, fintech companies which have become mean, yeah, which have become big, and they are around you. Yeah, and like these, there are hundreds of companies that are going to be there, and you're not going to remember the old names, but you're certainly going to remember the new names. Okay. So let's look at these 6 examples, and that'll give you a flavor of what is happening in the world around us. All of them came with an IPO. Yeah, 2021, April, May, June. Okay, all these 6 companies. It's just examples. So what is Coinbase? I think we looked at Coinbase, right? Coinbase says that they power the crypto economy, and we will look at cryptocurrency and digital assets in detail. But Coinbase operates remote first and lacks an official physical headquarters. To be digital, they're saying we don't even need an office. All right, it's everything is remote. There is no headquarters. What they are doing, they say building the crypto economy, a fair, accessible, efficient, transparent financial system enabled by crypto. They started in 2012 that anyone everywhere should be able to easily and secure and receive Bitcoin. And we will obviously know that Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies. We'll understand that as in this course. What do they offer? We offer a trusted, easy to use platform for accessing the broader crypto economy. So this is an exchange to trade in crypto assets, not just Bitcoin. Okay. They don't have a physical headquarters. It's a listed company. It has an exchange. It has nothing to do with stocks, bonds, derivatives. It's all about crypto. It has 68 million users. Volumes is about 400, close to 500 billion. So many assets on the platform, so many employees, 100 countries. Okay. So we are talking of digital assets. It's an exchange, and there is no physical. It's all about an asset which is not in the normal money or fiat money. Okay. So that's Coinbase. Has anyone heard of Coinbase? Has anyone here have done any crypto trading? I'm not recommending it. I'm just asking because many I know were doing it. Obviously, in India, the RBI then made it difficult. But has anyone heard of Coinbase, or has anyone done trading?
Yes, sir. There is one student who has replied by saying yes. There are multiple students. One Pradeep Kumar BR says he has done it in Wazirex.
Wazirex, okay.
Yeah, Wazirex. And Harshvardhan also has told. And he also does, and Natraj also.
Shibu Inu coins, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. I think
Rajesh also, yes, heard of Coinbase and he has traded on crypto.
Good. So I think the point is, and we look at right now as we speak, there are more than 4,200 types of crypto assets. Okay. We all heard of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so many of these, but we will spend a little bit of time because as the transformation just happening in the digital transformation, it is not just about existing businesses. There's a new digital asset economy that is opening up. And that is something that fundamentally is going to change a lot of things. Yeah. So I'm glad to see that so many of you are already trading on it. I'm not recommending it, but I'm glad to hear awareness is very good. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a question by one of our colleague, Dr. Trupta Shankar. He asked, fintech or insurtech in India, is it a case of overkill? And he asked this question from a customer's perspective. Fintech, insurtech in India, is it a case of overkill?
Okay, so the question is a good question, and I think look at it. It depends on whose perspective, all right?
Yeah.
So when you talk of fintech, and let's take fintech, all right? I don't know how many of you have ever go to your branch to do anything, banking. How many of you buy stocks, mutual funds by going to a broker, or do you even know where your broker office is? Okay, so I think fintechs have become part of us now. Okay, for those who are doing banking or investing or getting into insurance, I think it's all happening online. Yeah. So I think the question is it a question for the companies or the customer? I think it's company for the customers. I think it's already there. They adopted and they find it very easy. Same with insurance tech, right? And you see what is happening in insurance tech is that it's a little opaque, right? Because it's very harder to actually compare and understand what is covered because there's too much fine print. You do have companies like Policy Bazaar in India who are trying to provide a better service. But insurance is one industry that is open for disruption, and you'll see a lot more insurance tech companies that are going to disrupt it. Yeah. And so to me, insurance particularly is very ripe for it. So it's still the early stages. Disruption in banking is happening as we speak, but disruption in the stock markets and mutual funds is happening rapidly. If you look at the investment management, there are so many new funds that are filed. There's new passive funds coming, ETFs coming, and all of them are just catering to a customer which is digital. They don't necessarily have offices. Yeah. So I think if you look at the US markets, and particularly take even the Asian markets like China, Hong Kong, Japan, not Japan, Korea, they have gone so much ahead that the amount of services that are available and products available online is increased rapidly. In India, the critical mass is happening, at least it has already happened in the payment space. If you look at it, it's happening in the investment management space, at least from an investment. Banking is up for disruption, and insurance is, and regulatory regtech is all, I think, is ready. So I don't personally, I don't professionally think it's an overkill. I think we're still at the early stages of disruption. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Tripta, sir, I think we answered your question. So you may continue now.
Yeah. So this was Coinbase. So crypto, right? What we saw was crypto, all done digitally. Then you have a company called Alchemy. Alchemy is a provider of cloud-based digital banking solutions. Okay, they think that they're cloud-based and they provide solutions for digital banking. So what are they doing? Actually, they provide financial institutions. They are not a bank. They provide financial institutions a complete digital banking solution to facilitate both retail and business user onboarding, engagement, and account servicing. Okay, so this is the example we said, right? Somebody wants to start a bank, they could work with Stripe, they could work with Alchemy. Yeah. And Alchemy gives you a lot of the core. No, I'm not trying to evaluate Alchemy, but the whole thinking is changed, right? They can enhance the platform with upgrades and tailor with additional products as well as third-party solutions. So what do they provide? Software delivery, cloud-based software development, integration, data management, and user experience. So essentially, they are saying that digital, which is whether it is web or mobile, we have the technology that you can help you build your digital banking solution. So tomorrow, somebody gets a banking license, particularly in markets like the US, where licenses are acquired faster. They're not going to build it from scratch. They're going to leverage these fintechs. Yeah, and they came with an IPO. Yeah, so Alchemy is just an example. So first example we saw cloud, exchange and cloud. Second is a cloud-based digital banking. Yeah, what is the technology? Yeah. The third is Flywire. It's a payments company. So what do they do? Essentially, we know that there are payments enabled as software to deliver the most important payments. So what do? Is they essentially digitize payments for their global clients across education, healthcare, travel, processing, so much, 240 countries, 140 currencies. Yeah. So for many industries, not just banking, there's a lot of payment, right? Education. So if any of you have, have a relative who's studying in the US and you need to make payments, there are people I know study in universities, they need to make payments, they pay to a bank, right? So Flywire gets in. If you're doing travel, you have a global travel desk, Flywire takes care because you pay in foreign currency, B2B. So this is a big company which went public, and essentially what they do is make sure clients get paid, right? Your hotel business, healthcare, travel, hospitality. So this is something that you thought payments is all mature. No, it is not. It's very competitive. And this is another company that went public. And this is one of the, it's so payments, again, payments essentially trying to have your own platform. Yeah, that means you're able to provide a platform to client to manage the payments. Okay. The fact that you have so many clients, it's a plug and play, it's digital. It's not about, trying to have offices anymore. The next example is, again, this is very different. This is also payment. It's called dLocal. This is a company from Uruguay. And they basically try to address the gap between developed and emerging countries, right? So they do cross-border. It's a technology company and localization experts, right? So how do you manage payments in emerging countries which have restrictions? Yeah? So they are focusing on emerging economies in LATAM, APAC, Middle East, and North Africa, specialists. Yeah. So they also went public, right? So you see what is happening. The opportunity to build something, maybe all companies don't succeed, but many grow bigger, get investments, and the fintech is disrupting. Yeah. So if you are thinking that you would use Travelers or Amex for local payments, dLocal takes care of it. Okay. This is very interesting. Cards, right? So we saw cards, and we saw this new competitors for Amex and Visa and Master, companies like Stripe. Right? You have this company called Marqeta. We went public. Basically, global standard for modern card issuing, empowering builders, simplifying payments. What do they provide? An open API modern card issuing platform. Yeah. So tomorrow I want to start a bank. I want to do account servicing. I want to do digital banking. I want to do cards. What would I do? I would either go to Stripe, I would go to Marqeta for cards, or I will go to which is the one, Alchemy, right? For not Alchemy, the previous one, I forget the name, but Alchemy. Yeah. You see what is happening, right? You're seeing fintechs providing sophisticated and focused solutions. So I can build a bank with Marqeta, Alchemy, and maybe Stripe, right? What is the competitive advantage for a company which already has its own system that's not going to respond? I can build a bank in maybe 2 months, 1 month, 6 months, I don't know. And that's what Marqeta does, right? It's 600 employees. It's in the Forbes FinTech, 36 countries. It's in the Fast Company ranking. Yeah. So these are obviously the bigger success stories, but you see the trend. It's all digital. They're providing point solutions. They're scaled up. And now you have choices. A new business has choices. Do you want to invest in building your own solution, or you leverage this, right? I think that's what the whole digital transformation. Yeah. If your processes are not good, then you're going to lose business to some newcomer, or you better partner with the fintech, right? I think that's the message. And this is Wise. I'm sure many of you may have heard about Wise. It used to be called TransferWise. It's used to transfer money internationally. It's recently also been opened up in India, and it helps you. It started in 2011. It has helped 11 million people transfer. Yeah, so you can actually. I've actually tried to use it for some personal reason, but I could not do it. But that was about 3 months ago. But now you can send money from India. It gives you the best exchange rates, low taxes. So you see what is happening. 100,000 for USD, no bank transfer fee. So their fee is only 1,800, which is what 1.8%. Yeah, what 1.8%, and that's it. So you'll convert so much, you'll get the best rate. Yeah, the recipient gets $1,300. Okay. Has any of you used it? Wise? Not yet, I guess. And this is in today's economic times. Okay, India, today's edition. It's a study conducted by Wise, a global technology company revealed that between 2016-20, the annual amount lost in fees and exchange increased from 187 billion to 263 billion. Okay, rupees. A billion, you add so many crores, right? You add 2 zeros. So they're saying 97 billion was hidden as exchange rate markups, and the remaining was on transaction fees. So you see, Wise started in 2011, and I'm pretty sure that many of us are going to be using Wise, right? Do you have another alternative? I'm sure you're using a bank transfer, you're using your, I myself, I use ICICI Bank or IDFC First Bank, but I will use Wise if I find out the rates. So the disruption is happening. So banks who are making money in foreign exchange remittances and transfers will find that Wise is going to take a lot of their business, especially they're going to be cheaper. Okay. So you see, this is happening as we speak. It is not out there in the US. It's not in Europe. It is happening in India. Yeah. And when we look at open banking and payments in India, payments we are aware, you'll see that the change is happening so rapidly that we have to be geared up. Don't expect that the companies that we are working for, expect to work for, can sustain. Yeah. So let's be aware, let's learn, and let's use this to sort of, get ourselves, up to speed, and also maybe build startups of our own. Yeah. Okay. So fintech, I think when I looked at it, the time we had 136, but fintech now has 162 unicorns. Yeah. Now I don't know whether this is as things stand or historically, but all money, the biggest success has been fintech. Money has obviously going to others, right? Internet software, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, health, supply chain, mobile, cyber security, auto, data management, hardware, edtech, etc. But the biggest success has been in fintech, which is what we have been talking about. All the examples were on fintech. As I said, unicorn is a term to describe a startup company with a value of 1 billion. Okay. So what you're seeing is that we're seeing disruption happening. We're seeing companies that are lost. We're seeing new money is flowing in, and we are seeing that the new companies have grown and going for IPOs. And what is it? It's all about technology, digital banking, cloud, cards, payments, mobile services, web services. It's just changing at such a pace that you have to be on top of it, and you need to get yourself educated to be on top of it. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just pause here for any questions before we go to the next piece. Yeah. The unbundling. The question. We at 7:30, so I'll do this for half hour and we'll probably continue the story as we go. Yeah, or maybe we can do it today. Okay. So any questions so far? I think at least we have seen that there's a lot of capital, a lot of transformation happening in the digital. Then we understand somewhat digital transformation. We understand the elements happening. This all the technology elements. What are the business elements? Business industry. Some industries we are familiar, right? So let's understand what is the unbundling, right? What is it going to be gradual? What is it going to be sudden? And what is the risk? Okay. So let's look at that. Okay. So let's understand the actual financial services areas. So you have payment and lending markets. Yeah. There's many of these markets. Yeah. So it goes to the business of payment and lending, right? There's payments, the customer mortgage lending, there's automotive lending, personal lending, SMB lending, digital payments, mobile payments, lending marketplace, bank card payments, alternate lending, retail payments, online maintenance, or online marketplace, mobile payments, right? We have so many of these in the payment and lending space. Okay. So this is to give a flavor of when we talk of, especially this is, in the payment and lending market, which is retail primarily, there's a lot of things happening. Yeah? Retail, mortgage, automotive, cross-border. We have student lending, right? So everything is happening in this space. Okay. And this gives you the size, right? Huge, very big. Then wealth management, yeah. Now wealth management is massive, yeah. Globally, it's 63 trillion. Just China is 18 trillion. And now digital wealth is 2 trillion. So you see what is happening. That what you think is small is going to change, right? We have seen that happen in all other industries, right? What is happening in the traditional method of a relationship manager in offices, there's going to be disruption happening. It's already happening. Okay. And I think there's a question of insurance, right? So this is how insurance look like. Insurance, normally there are two kinds, right? Life and non-life, right? So life is roughly this. Again, most of these are US or world. So, but the scale, right? Property and casualty is 550. Automotive is 364. Homeowners is 74. Political range, telematics, drone, flood, cyber security, right? There's sizable chunks of insurance, right? So I think if one compares in the Indian market and to Professor Tripta Shankar's question, I think we are going to see all the disruption happening in shorter time, just following what's happening globally. Yeah, it's very hard to not change. Yeah? So I think I want to give you a sense when you talk of financial services, payments and lending, wealth management. Obviously, there's a lot of capital market trading and insurance. Yeah, all this is ripe for disruption. Okay. So you see what's happening, right? We looked at some of these corporate credit cards, right? So you see what is happening. Credit cards as fintechs are launching their thing, right? We saw one company, right? What was the name? Which provides the backend, right? Market. Fortune is launched in an IPO. Brex, all new products to offer redemption for crypto. Air Wallets, Visa rollout for borderless card for business in Hong Kong. Yeah. So companies, fintechs are launching new card offerings. Yeah. So they are certainly going to take the payment space and card space and retail space. Digital assets, right? So we're going to spend a lot of time on digital assets, right? Now, digital assets are getting into capital markets. So Morgan Stanley is one of the big investment bankers leading 48 million investment to bring blockchain to capital markets. They're investing, yeah. This is in July. It's an article. And slowly crypto markets are becoming an established asset class. We'll see what's happening. And Germany allows 4,000 investment funds to involve in crypto. So crypto digital assets is becoming mainstream, yeah? All because of these fintechs. Then you see that very, very specialized fintechs are coming. Yeah? So this is again a lot more in the US, but it's a company called Greenlight, a smart debit card for kids. 3 million children and parents on their platform. Debit card for kids. I know some of our banks have it, but these are startups. Current is a company, collaborative banking for parents and kids. They charge $36, 3 million users. Another company which has got Series C financing, financial tool for teens and families. The first 6 months, it grew to 1.5. How many of you are able to do financial planning with your parents, this, right? Or if you have children, like I have teens, I don't think there's a tool that exists. I'm pretty sure as some tool comes, I'm pretty sure it'll be there in India too. Yeah. But you see what is happening. These are challenging the banks. The traditional banks which are providing they're essentially attracting a customer base that's going to give them money with these startups. Okay. So just an example of a segment that you do not have thought about, right? We're still talking of mortgage and lending, right? And suddenly you see a segment or teens. Okay. This is something we talked about, buy now, pay later. It's happening in India too now. I think Bajaj Finance and others are offering. Basically, what it says is you buy now at a point of sale, right? At a shop. Allow consumers to make purchase and pay at a future date. Pay off the remainder in a predetermined installments. Buy now, don't charge interest, right? So I'm pretty sure some of you have tried Bajaj Finserv. You can pay in installments, right? You don't pay any interest. And they get approved in this, like Bajaj Finance as a company, they approve in like 5 minutes, right? Because They invested in fintech technology and credit profiling to tell the store to give you the things in 5 minutes. Doesn't affect the credit score. So have any of you tried doing this in India? Bajaj Finance? That's a question, right? I'll answer that, but the quick question: has anyone done any of BNPL arrangements? No, looks like okay. Oh, used Bajaj Finance. Okay, so you have done, Chandra. You have used their thing to pay by EMI, or just payment. Oh, okay. Or even Deepna has used. Okay, so there's no interest being charged. EMI. Okay, that's exactly buy now pay later, right? Because you're not being charged an interest. Obviously, Bajaj Finance gets the money from the processor of the card and the company. Yeah, but okay, good. So that's exactly a thing of buy now pay later. Yeah. So I'll just go back to a question that came. The question is an interesting one. Zest Money. Okay, somebody has used Zest Money. Oh, interesting. So Zest Money maybe as a new startup then. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The question that came from Pradeep Kumar is, even though investments are happening in all sectors of technology like internet, why investments are highest in fintech sector? Yeah. Now, it's a very, very interesting question, a very good question. And I think the reason is this: financial services, the raw material and the assets is money, right? And money traditionally, other than the physical notes, which is gone, is always stored in digital forms. So there is opportunity to digitize the value chain much ahead of time. All right. We have been using online banking for like 20 years, maybe 30 years, 50 years. ATMs came in 1967, and we'll look at that thing. So financial services are already going digital. So a lot of the innovation has broken down the value chain and trying to provide to the customers. The second reason is customers at the end of the value chain typically want to use it for banking, payments, stock trading. All right. Those are the ones that lend itself to finance because the money is an intangible digital asset. That's primarily the reason. And also because the financial services are much more developed among the larger industries. So there's a lot of disruption that has been happening. And there's a lot of opportunity for fintechs to try to disrupt and get funding. Yeah. So that's primarily the reason. It goes back to the actual cause of the asset or the working capital. So if you take the other examples, right? Health, you can do online, but you need a doctor. You need to do blood tests, right? You need to do X-rays. You need to do scanning. You need to do surgery, right? Whereas in financial services, you can do everything online, right? So that is one example of health. EdTech also, right? EdTech requires, you can teach online, and we are seeing that happen in the COVID, right? This session is happening online, but you still need to, go through a process of, maybe there are exams, there's tests, there's reading material, there's grading, there is pedagogy, a lot of stuff is outside, right? Teaching is just one part of the online value chain. A lot of intellectual horsepower and non-digital work that is required. So that's why EdTech is not as straightforward, but a lot of money going to EdTech is about how to do things online, like companies like Byju's and so on. And internet, yes, internet is a lot of money, right? So internet is certainly, we're seeing, right, the second after fintech. Yeah, so automotive, the same reason, the assets are, there's a lot of digital has come in, right? Tesla is brought in the driverless car, Google is getting there, there's electric vehicle, driverless car, but you still need a battery, you still need wheels, right? You still need steering, you still need seats, right? So you can automate to the extent you can, but digital transformation is working there. The rest of the stuff, obviously, that takes some time. Yeah. So to answer your question, I think this is Deepak, right? Was Deepak question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pradeep's question, sorry. Yeah. I think there are a lot of other people who are using EMI for Zest Money. Yeah. Well, interesting. Okay. So that's what BNPL is about. Okay. So let's look at a company that started with so you now have companies that are providing BNPL for specific purposes. Okay. It's interesting, right? BNPL for auto dealers, a company called Sunbit. For auto dealers, optical practices, dentist offices. Marco for wedding expenses. Yeah. Nilo is for Uber, including small ticket items for Uber, Netflix, and mobile telephony. Yeah. So you see the segmentation, and if there is a market, if there's a segmentation, there's a need, fintechs are coming in. Yeah. This is very interesting. You are having all cash offer providers for housing. So there are people who are offering loans and for actually buying houses online, absolutely online. No, not like your SBI or HDFC, which you have to go to the branch. No, Homeward, alternative financing like all cash, and that to full cash. Accept all cash. If it qualifies for a mortgage, they provide. Yeah. So you see, there's a deception in the whole mortgage space, right? If you're going to think of a traditional mortgage today, most of us, if you're like taking a loan, either going to, I don't know, HDFC, you're going to Canara Bank, you're going to PNB, you're going to LIC Housing, you're going to Bajaj Finance, I don't know, but there's going to be others going to come into the space, and they're going to be disrupted. Whether that happens now, later, as we said, it can happen gradually, it can happen suddenly, and the whole world will change. Yeah? So just keep in mind, whatever you think is not going to happen in India may happen very fast. Whatever you think is going to happen in your world, maybe some of you find jobs in finance and working for a home loan company, and you better be helping them in terms of coming in new models or looking at the competitive landscape or going digital. Okay. This money management apps, right? We talked briefly about Grow, and you can manage your money with your mobile app with your bank. This is Huawei is a mobile app for the new Gen Z, right? Which is based on combines banking, advice, and education in one. This is financial services. I don't know the name, but it's a unbanked workers, immigrants, right? For those who don't have a steady job, maybe, or those who don't have a bank, ensemble, helping diverse to track and manage share expenses. Right? So you see, it's not just segmentation. There's an app, there's a fintech offering a very specialized service. And if the size of the market is big, then you go have an opportunity to grow. Yeah. So you see the disruption that is happening is just going to, be crazy, and it is happening at such speed that if you think that it's going to happen only after 5 years, 2 years, you're going to be surprised. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the unbundling part. There are two ways to make money. This is from a former quote from a company called Any of you heard of Netscape? That's also a company that lost out to Microsoft in internet. It still exists, but the quote is interesting. Huh? The two ways to make money: bundle or to unbundle. Okay. Let's take a pause here. Dr. Shailaja, any questions, or I just want to see how much time, or should we, leave it open for any more questions or discussion, or is it too much covered? And I just want to take a pause also, for people to digest. Okay, there's no questions. Okay, I'll try to. Today's session has been obviously a lot of information. I think this workshop is going to make you think more and more. And it's like, if you open the hood of a car, right now we just open the hood and you're seeing different pieces, right? We'll try to understand how those pieces are helping with digital transformation fintechs. Okay. So I'll just continue maybe we'll finish up another 5-10 minutes. Is that fine? Yeah. It's 7:45. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's look at how we make money in business. Yeah. So in 2015, as all these fintechs were coming in, yeah, you could see different companies. I don't have to go into the details, but some companies may not exist now. Yeah, you had Prosper, Privlo, Upstart, Lending Club, Nerd Wallet, Credit Karma, Wealthfront. Yeah, and all of this was cluttered, right? We didn't. If you look at it, somewhere for banking is very faint. Doesn't matter. Land loans and credit, insurance, investing in retirement, wealth management, financial education. Okay, small business, commercial. Okay, you had home lending, going to college, banking made easy, borrowing of cash, and so on and so forth. This 2015, already there was a transformation happening. Yeah? What are we going to see now? What we see is, on one end, you have a traditional bank, okay, Bank of America, which does all of these businesses: consumer payments, investment banking, consumer deposits, SMB lending, business credit cards, wealth, consumer lending, business bank. Okay. And now you have hundreds of fintechs are doing this. Bank of America may be thinking that they have a monopoly, they can do it. And now you have each financial service business is being done by 10, 20, 100 banks. Okay. So for example, consumer payments, we just saw, right? TransferWise. We saw that company, correct? There's another company called Venmo. Investment banking, there are multiple small companies that are investing in this business to help raise capital. Consumer deposits, right? Marcus, this is actually a fintech started by Goldman Sachs. Chime, Chime is a big player. We'll look at Chime separately. Monzo, we heard this name. Revolut is another bank, digital bank. SMB lending, there are multiple companies. Credit cards, right? We saw there's companies offering credit cards. Wealth and investment, Coinbase, right? We talked of Coinbase for crypto, right? Then you have Mint. This is again Robinhood, right? Slowly, these companies are going to take away your business. Consumer lending, right? There are many companies. We didn't look at it specifically, but many companies. And business banking, right? Tide, Starling Bank, it's a UK bank. We'll probably look at it more. So what is happening is now you have fintechs coming in different areas and who are actually competing with other fintechs for that business. This is the unbundling that is happening. Yeah, it is happening for a number of reasons, and we'll go into each of those technology reasons later, but it's because of breakdown of understanding the financial service value chain, fintechs which are getting investments, focusing on a separate technology and able to compete. Yeah, and they're offering something to consumers or businesses that the traditional industry players were not able to offer. And if you can't offer it, you can't compete, you're going to die. Yeah, that's a message.
So if I may interrupt you,
Sure.
There's a question by Rajesh Kubendran. Does fintech care only on profit gains? While we see a lot of other industries play along with social cause, is there something that we are missing out? If not, any areas that you think can be explored?
Okay, interesting question. So if I understand this right, I think this question from Rajesh, right? So are you saying that is there an opportunity for fintech which is not just about making a profit, but it has a social objective? Is that right?
Yes, that's
actually that's a fantastic area, because I'm sure there are many. I'll give an example. Okay, I spoke to a fintech company in Bangalore. What they do is they actually tie up with the small, okay, for saving, right? You need to invest, right? I know people used to invest in real estate and gold, but obviously investing in equities via mutual funds is important. Okay. So this company would tie up with ICICI Bank and to the auto drivers so that they can save for a purpose. Okay. The idea was that if somebody wants to save money to, I don't know, for their daughter's school, son's school. They just have to invest, at the end of the day, if they can invest 100 rupees, that goes into a ICICI liquid fund. Okay. Now, this is a social cost, which I think is great, because we need to have more people becoming smarter about investing and not leaving the money in the bank. So now that is still an early stage, whether they're able to scale up, whether they're able to get funding, whether at the end of it, they were able to make some profit, but it was a social cost. Whether it went to a logical, I don't know. But I think there is a great opportunity. Yes. If you look at one of the examples, you saw education, right? Education of financial, education of planning, education of, how to look for things that are already there, right? So I think the answer is yes. Use cases, I'm sure you probably have some ideas, but I think it's a great opportunity for you to pursue if you think that's, and again, if it is explored or not explored, doesn't matter. If you have an idea and you are able to find a segment, or you are able to build it and take it, I think that's how it works. Yeah. So I would say is that if you have such an idea, which I think is superb, then you should take it forward, Rajesh.
Yeah, Rajesh, I think your question is answered, right? Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. So I think it's a couple of more minutes for 8 o'clock. I think.
Okay. So let's stop, because I think there's a few more slides in this section, but okay. I just want you to take away, all these changes are not gradual, right? And tomorrow there's a few more stories, but suddenly is here. If you think digital transformation will happen, somebody will teach me, no, and I want you to take this workshop to understand what is it that you need to know, what is it that you can learn over and above what you are going to study. If you are doing an MBA education, you need to equip yourself as a manager to understand what is the pieces that are changing. So I will try to give you a feel of what the pieces are, technology elements. Whether you want to learn about for yourself for data or analytics, you want to become a cloud specialist, or you just want to be a manager, but you need to understand the moving parts. If you are a cook, and if you don't understand the ingredients and which ingredients are good, you cannot become a good cook, and you have to play around, right? So just think of it, you're a cook. Tomorrow you may decide that, I want to actually grow that ingredient, or I want to become a cloud specialist. Great. But what I'm trying to tell you is that what are the things that are coming together that is transforming the business, and the change is happening now, So if you can go away after this, whatever you take from this 10 hours, and know, then you are prepared for yourself, you're prepared for your organization, and you will make much better managers or industry professionals for those who are coming from the industry. Yeah, I'll stop here. We'll continue with suddenly is here, because it can be a little scary to see the change that is happening, but we'll leave that for tomorrow. Yeah. So that's all. Thanks, Dr. Shailaja and everyone. Any questions? I'm here.
Right now, we don't have any questions. We have, I guess, yeah. Great session. Thanks a lot. Students are replying. Thank you very much, sir. I think this was a very wonderful to start off with, because the way in which the examples that you have given, rather than directly jumping into the topic, you just gave us an example, and you took us through various fintechs, the next gen fintechs, which are breaking the stereotypes, that is, which have already disrupted. Because today I remember in my class I was just telling to the students that is, it's not like the trend is changing, or suddenly I also use the same thing, like changes will happen suddenly. So that is when you are required to foresee the changes, and then adopt quickly. And then thereby you will be able to sustain the long run. That's what I was saying. And that's exactly what we could see in the entire 2-hour session that you took, is exactly that.
Absolutely.
Wonderfully, you just gave examples of all the, I'm sure the students have had a wonderful information about what are the next gen path breaking or sort of disruptive fintech companies which are changing the traditional financial services sector.
We'll get into some of these details as we go. I think you can leave today and knowing what is fintech and what's happening in the world. Yeah, I think
exactly.
That's enough, yeah.
And also it was very heartening to know that the students who joined, somewhere about 91 students had joined. Only now the students are quitting, sir, because now also I have about 76 students here. So that itself shows that the session was so very engaging. The session was so very engaging and also all the more interesting. And that's purely because of your, the kind of deliverables that you are giving away to the students. I thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It was
Thank
a
you very
pleasure
much.
for me too.
Yes. And sir, and to all the students here, again, tomorrow we will start the session at exactly 6 o'clock. So I request you all to join using the same link. And in case you have any questions, okay, any questions, please come back. And before the starting of the session, sir will try to take the questions if it is related to today's class. And then, yes, we will meet one another again in tomorrow's session. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Sir, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Shailaja and Dr. Nisha. Yeah. Thank you, Imtiaz. Yeah.
Thank you, Imtiaz, sir. And thanks to all the students. You may leave now, and we will again meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good day. Good night.
Good night, sir.